Writing. The cold wind swept through the city streets as people hurried home after work. Cars filled the roads, restaurant lights glowed through the evening darkness, and laughter echoed from crowded cafes. Yet among all the comfort and warmth, a young homeless girl named Emma sat alone beside a trash bin near an upscale restaurant. She wrapped her thin arms around herself, trying to stay warm. Her clothes were worn, her shoes were damaged, and her stomach ached with hunger. Emma had not always lived on the streets. 3 years earlier, she had lived with her mother in a small apartment. They never had much money, but they had each other. Then her mother became seriously ill. Medical bills piled up, and eventually her mother passed away. With no relatives willing to take her in, Emma found herself alone. She moved from shelter to shelter until she eventually ended up living on the streets. At first, she believed things would improve. She searched for help, looked for odd jobs, and tried to survive honestly. But life was harder than she imagined. Many people ignored her. Some looked at her with pity, while others treated her like she was invisible. That evening had been especially difficult. She had spent the entire day looking for food but found almost nothing. Her stomach growled painfully. She watched customers entering and leaving the luxurious restaurant nearby. The smell of freshly baked bread and delicious meals drifted through the air, making her even hungrier. Inside the restaurant sat Victoria Bennett, one of the wealthiest businesswomen in the country. She owned several companies and was known for her success. Dressed elegantly, she was finishing dinner after a long meeting with investors. Despite her wealth, Victoria looked exhausted. She had spent years building her empire, but lately she felt something was missing. Most conversations in her life revolved around profits, contracts, and business deals. Genuine human connection had become rare. As she waited for the bill, she glanced out the window and noticed Emma sitting alone outside. The sight lingered in her mind. There was something about the girl's expression that felt familiar. It reminded Victoria of her own childhood. Few people knew that Victoria had grown up poor. Her father worked multiple jobs, and there were nights when her family barely had enough food to eat. She remembered the embarrassment of wearing old clothes and the fear of not knowing whether there would be dinner on the table. When Victoria left the restaurant, she noticed Emma staring at the takeout container in her hand. The girl quickly looked away, embarrassed. Victoria walked toward her. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. Emma nodded even though it was obvious she wasn't. For a moment neither spoke. Then Emma gathered her courage. "Excuse me, ma'am," she said quietly. "Can I eat your leftovers?" The question hit Victoria like a punch to the heart. Emma's voice carried no entitlement, no anger, and no expectation. It was simply the voice of someone desperate with hunger. Victoria stared at her. She looked at the young girl's thin face, tired eyes, and trembling hands. "No," Victoria replied softly. Emma lowered her head immediately. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I shouldn't have asked." But Victoria smiled. "No, you misunderstood. You're not going to eat my leftovers." Emma looked up, confused. "You're going to come inside and order whatever meal you want." The girl blinked in disbelief. "What? You heard me. I don't have any money." "You don't need any." Emma's eyes filled with tears. For a moment she thought she might be dreaming. Victoria led her into the restaurant. Several customers stared as the homeless girl entered beside the elegant businesswoman. Some exchanged judgmental glances. Others looked surprised. Victoria ignored them all. They sat at a table near the window. A waiter approached uncertainly. Victoria simply smiled. "My guest would like to order." Emma looked at the menu nervously. She had never seen so many choices. Finally, she ordered soup, pasta, bread, and a slice of chocolate cake. When the food arrived, she hesitated. "Go ahead," Victoria encouraged. Emma took a bite. The warmth of the soup nearly made her cry. She ate slowly at first, trying to be polite. But eventually hunger took over. She finished every bite. Victoria watched quietly. The sight filled her with unexpected emotion. After dinner, they talked. Emma shared her story. She spoke about her mother, the illness, the loneliness, and the years spent surviving on the streets. Victoria listened carefully. She noticed that despite everything Emma had endured, she remained kind and respectful. Most importantly, she hadn't given up hope. When Emma finished speaking, Victoria asked a simple question. "If you had the chance to start over, what would you do?" Emma answered immediately. "I'd go back to school." "What else?" "I'd study hard." "What else?" "I'd work so I could help other people like me." Victoria smiled. The answer came without hesitation. That night she rented a hotel room for Emma. When Emma entered the room, she froze. There was a comfortable bed, a private bathroom, Clean towels, soft lighting. It felt like another world. She sat on the bed and cried for nearly 20 minutes. Not because she was sad. Because for the first time in years, she felt safe. The next morning Victoria returned. She brought clothes, toiletries, and breakfast. Then she made Emma an offer. I want to help you rebuild your life. Emma stared at her. Why? Victoria thought for a moment. Because someone once helped me when I needed it most. Over the next several months, Victoria kept her promise. She enrolled Emma in a special educational program. She helped her find stable housing. She arranged counseling and support services. Little by little, Emma's life began to change. At first it wasn't easy. Years on the streets had left emotional scars. She struggled with trust. She struggled with confidence. Sometimes she feared everything would disappear overnight. But Victoria remained patient. Whenever Emma doubted herself, Victoria reminded her how far she had already come. Months turned into years. Emma excelled in school. She discovered a talent for leadership and communication. Teachers praised her determination. Classmates admired her resilience. Eventually she earned a scholarship to attend university. The day she received the acceptance letter, she ran to Victoria's office. Victoria was in the middle of a meeting when Emma burst through the door. I got in, Emma shouted. Victoria immediately stood and hugged her. For a brief moment, neither cared about the shocked executives sitting around the conference table. Years passed. Emma graduated near the top of her class. She earned a degree in social work and nonprofit management. But she never forgot where she came from. She never forgot the hunger, the loneliness, the feeling of being invisible. Most importantly, she never forgot the woman who stopped to listen. One evening, nearly 8 years after their first meeting, Victoria hosted a charity gala at one of her luxury hotels. Hundreds of wealthy guests attended. Business leaders, celebrities, journalists, and politicians filled the ballroom. The purpose of the event was to raise money for homeless youth programs. As dinner concluded, Victoria stepped onto the stage. Tonight, she said, I'd like you to meet someone extraordinary. The crowd turned toward the entrance. A confident young woman walked into the spotlight. It was Emma, elegant and professional. She looked nothing like the frightened girl who once sat outside a restaurant begging for leftovers. The audience applauded. Emma approached the microphone. She took a deep breath. Then she told her story. She spoke about sleeping on sidewalks. She spoke about hunger and fear. She spoke about being ignored by countless strangers. Many guests wiped away tears. Then Emma reached the most important part of her story. One night, she said, I asked a woman a question. The room became silent. I asked if I could eat her leftovers. Guests listened intently. She could have walked away. Most people did. She could have handed me a few dollars and forgotten me. Instead, she sat down and saw me as a human being. Emma looked toward Victoria. She didn't just give me food. She gave me a future. The ballroom erupted into applause. But Emma wasn't finished. She smiled. Today, I'm proud to announce that our organization has helped more than 2,000 homeless young people find housing, education, and hope. The audience stood. Many people were openly crying. The standing ovation lasted several minutes. Victoria felt tears forming in her own eyes. She had built companies worth millions. She had won awards and achieved financial success. Yet nothing compared to this moment. Nothing compared to seeing the impact of a single act of kindness. After the gala ended, Victoria and Emma stepped onto a balcony overlooking the city. Lights sparkled below them. Cars moved through the streets like streams of stars. Emma smiled. Do you ever think about that night? Victoria laughed softly. All the time. I almost didn't ask. And I almost didn't stop. They both stood quietly for a moment. Then Emma spoke. You changed my life. Victoria shook her head. No, you changed your own life. I only opened a door. You were the one brave enough to walk through it. Emma smiled. Perhaps that was true, but she knew one thing for certain. If Victoria had ignored her that night, everything would have been different. One simple decision had transformed 2 lives. As they looked across the city, Emma wondered how many other people were out there feeling invisible. How many were hungry? How many were waiting for someone to care? She made a silent promise to continue helping as many as she could. Because kindness has a way of multiplying. One meal can become hope. One conversation can become a future. One opportunity can become a new life. And sometimes, a question as simple as, "Can I eat your leftovers?" can become the beginning of a miracle.